Hi everyone, I'm Bart Hassam. I'm the current Interflora World Cup winner for floral design, and I'm here in the beautiful Sunshine Coast hinterland doing some beautiful pieces of work for Premium Greens Australia using their wonderful Australian native material. This is beautiful Gletschenia, which is sea star fern, and I've used it in the way that it grows. It rises from the ground in a single stem and then divides at the top in this canopy style effect, which gives you this beautiful transparency, which we've really focused upon. I've used all of the stems in a ring on the outside of the container, placed it into floral foam, which has been covered with beautiful air drying clay. The clay dries over a period of 2 or 3 days, and so it's very easy to work in, and the flowers can slip right through the clay into the floral foam for access to water. This beautiful sea star fern grows in the same way as umbrella fern, which you can see behind me, growing naturally here on the Sunshine Coast. It has this beautiful plateau effect, and so we're really utilising it just the way it grows in nature. We're going to use a formal linear style of work in terms of the flowers, and we're utilising Phalaenopsis orchids, which will float delicately over the top of the design. I have hidden inside individual glass test tubes, which have just been tied onto natural stems of fern, so that actually when you see the underneath of the structure, you'll just see these fine stems going into the clay rather than too many heavy stems, so it still continues to keep it quite light. Phalaenopsis orchids are really beautiful used in this way because they have a lot of weight which sits onto very thin stems so that they can look like they're merely floating above the surface of the structure. That little bit of stem is really important to see that they look like they're flying. We have other interesting form flowers like beautiful anthuriums, which can also sit above the designs, so you can still see their stem and their form. Some of the materials, because they have nice long stems, can actually still come down to the floral foam at the base, making sure as I design that I'm giving everything a nice clean cut. As you can see, we're focusing the materials and the colour in a circular pattern, but not everywhere. We're just at certain sections of the ring of the beautiful fern, and not trying to cover all of it, just trying to utilise different forms of flowers and shapes. Some beautiful epidendrum orchids. They're commonly known as crucifix orchids because at the top of the flower there is a small crucifix shape in the bloom. Sea star fern is beautiful, used in lots of different ways in this transparent work, where it can be really shown off rather than covered in thick hand-tied bouquets. You can see the line and form as it comes from the ground and plateaus at the top. It has beautiful transparency that even when dried continues to keep its shape. As we're building up the placements, you'll find that everything continues to have space. Nothing is too crowded. You're trying to just make all the materials look like they've always grown here. We have some beautiful grander colour Protea, which have just been cleaned back of all foliage. So it looks like the other materials in the design. You can see the form and the line of the material before we actually place it into the design. If I had left all of the leaves on, it would be far too bulky, far too dominant. This way, you can see the character and form of the flower. Only using a few to make a feature on one side of the design. Little bits of apricot-y gold bring out the colours of all the other flowers. At this point, I think it might be nice to actually utilise some of the materials that you can see behind me. This is beautiful umbrella fern, and this is where it comes from. This is where it is selected from. Premium Greens is supported by the Australian and Queensland government and have licenses to be able to come in and pick, but they aren't allowed to actually do anything to the product. They can, other than pick, they can't water, they can't fertilise. They are just literally keeping it sustainable and cutting throughout the year, taking individual stems and they find the most perfect and beautiful stems to then bunch up and send all the way around the world. Fantastic quality. And as you can see, straight from nature into design. You can see the structure of the two materials is exactly the same, but the umbrella is solid, whereas the sea star fern is transparent. Beautiful umbrella. We love using it because it has that beautiful plateau of the stem. Premium Greens goes to a lot of trouble to make sure each and every stem that they cut is beautiful and not wasted. Close to being finished this particular design, I really want to focus on showing off the sea star fern and its qualities, its transparency. We might just extend some of the proportions by utilizing a couple of longer stems of the epidendrum, which have this beautiful curve that can still follow the same lines as the sea star fern naturally grows, but it just extends the proportion outwards and cascades a little bit. Fortunately, the epidendrum, as it grows, gets heavy and falls down a little and creates these beautiful curves that can be utilized, really extending the proportions outwards. Have some beautiful stems of Banksia rose. Have a lovely long line. We've just reduced it back so that it's just a little bit of weight towards the end. It does not have thorns, so you can clean the stems quite easily with your hand and sort of acts like a cane, so you actually can manipulate it with your hand. And it just helps to extend the proportion of the design, but by following the same lines as the sea star fern. As you can see, now that the design is finished, we've really utilized the structure of the sea star fern. Its nice long stems, its beautiful plateau of transparent materials. And I'd really encourage you to have a look at all of the beautiful materials that Premium Greens offers, hand-picked from the beautiful Sunshine Coast region of Australia. They have such amazing structural materials that you can really only find here, nowhere else in the world, even though it comes to you all over the world.